Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I'm going to talk about the trailer that just dropped for It Chapter 2, isn't that what it's called? The final trailer came out. If you haven't seen it already, I'll include a link to it in the description down below. But I really like this trailer. There's a lot of interesting things in it. Obviously, my experience with it, I've seen the original, what was it, the 1990s, like, movies slash miniseries, whatever you want to label it, but I've never read the actual book. And when it came to the movies, you know, with Tim Curry as Pennywise, that was many, many years ago. So I haven't seen it since I was a little kid, so the movie is like going on 30 years old at this point in time. But nevertheless, so one thing I thought was kind of interesting in the trailer, and like I said, it might have been in the original, but I don't know because I haven't seen it in such a long time, was that one of the characters stayed behind in the town. And I was like, really? I was like, is that something new for this, or is that something that was already in the original? I don't remember. That was kind of an interesting thing to me because I'm like, oh, because obviously they make a point to be like, yo, the kids leave town and they forget. Like, the further you get from the town, the more your memories of everything kind of fades away. It's just kind of like the magic spell that the town's kind of under, which I didn't remember that element. I knew that they struggled to remember. I thought it was more so the monster who did that, but I guess it's just the town. Maybe it's just the monster itself kind of does that to you because it has that kind of spell on the town, whatever the case may be. But for one of the characters to remember, he's the one that's probably going to gather everyone up. It's like, we made this promise. If it ever returned, we'd be here to fight it and kill it because they were the ones who faced it all those years ago when no one else knew what the hell was going on, you know? So to me, that's like a fascinating element, having at least one of the characters know about that. And that was something I'd heard some people bring up before, whether or not they were hoping, because obviously when it comes to the books, there's a lot more lore to that town. So whether they'll kind of dive into that or not, it's kind of a big thing. The teaser trailer kind of hinted that maybe there's going to be some deep diving into some of the lore of that town, or maybe that's just more Pennywise messing with people's minds type of thing. We'll ultimately have to wait and see. At the very least, it seems like there might be a situation of, you know, so at least it seems like James McAvoy might have a son in this case, and it seems like so far, like at least from what we saw in the trailer, it seemed like he might be the only one that has a kid, but now his kid's kind of getting mixed up in everything. You see at one point he's trying to save him, so that's kind of going to be an interesting element. I guess that's going to be one of the things he's kind of fighting for, to keep his son from having to be caught up in this mess as well, potentially. Another interesting thing is there's a thing in the trailers that I think is kind of interesting that all the material has kind of hinted away from. There's a pretty big thing, and if I remember, there's a pretty big thing amongst the Loser Club that actually is the main reason why they get back together, if I remember correctly. I think someone hinted that that was the main reason why, but like, if no one's ever seen it, because like I said, like this movie's going on 30 years old, but there might be people who never saw the original, never read the book, so this might be their only version of the story, so I don't want to spoil it, but if you get what I'm talking about, like the trailer kind of hints to some stuff that like they did a very good job of avoiding it in the, you know, trailers and stuff like that, but I'm sure like it's going to be like the opening act of the movie. All I'm going to say is, anyone that might know what I'm talking about, there's literally one shot that shows like a bathtub and a bloody hand kind of leaning over the side. I'm like, that's the furthest thing they really reference to this thing, so I think it's kind of fascinating. They've done a very good job of just kind of beating around the bush with this particular thing, because, I mean, to be fair, it'd be like a huge spoiler. It's actually interesting because if I remember correctly, that was how the first movie back in 1990, that's actually how it ended. This is potentially going to begin with that, which is kind of a fascinating thing. But I guess it's the whole point to kind of separate between like, oh, them as kids, to make it its own thing, and everything related to them as adults be its own thing. Nevertheless, I just thought that was kind of a fascinating thing. But I like aesthetically everything we've seen. It's like, to me, and to be fair, it's been a while, probably been like over like a year and a half since I've seen part one, the 2017, you know, It movie, because I watched it a little bit after it originally came out. But the fact is that, to me, a lot of the stuff in it was obviously scary, but that's what it mainly was. It was just scares. In this, at least from the trailer, it seems like everything's a little more trippy. It's always a reference that everyone kind of goes to when it comes to something like weird and mind and world bending type of thing, is like Inception. But, you know, obviously, like, it seemed like there was some like Inception and kind of Doctor Strange level like world bendiness. Obviously, it's like all in their heads, it's making them see stuff like that's, you know, part of its thing, but still, it just, I think we'll probably see a lot more of that potentially, along with the scariness, kind of combining the two. Like I said, I just feel like everything was kind of a more straightforward scare. But to be fair, they were kids then, they're adults now, so you gotta amp up the scares and obviously, you know, do some crazy stuff to really mess with their heads. So I'm very interested to see, you know, where things kind of go on that front. Like I said, just from what we've seen, obviously from the casting to just what we see in these trailers, it looks great. I'm actually very excited. I don't watch that many horror movies, but like it's probably like the one horror movie I went out of my way to see. This is where my mind is about everything, just what's floating through my head. In the comments down below, let me know what you thought about the trailer. Are you excited for the movie or are you not? Let me know what you're thinking and how you're feeling in the comments down below. Really, that's all I want to talk about today. So me, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.